What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video we are looking at the NBA slate for Tuesday. We have 2 games, the first day of the play-in tournament, so it's basically like the start of the playoffs. Let's go ahead and get into it. As always, if you enjoy the videos, appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out all the socials, the website, Twitter, Prize Picks, code, all in the description. And let's go ahead and get into it. So starting off with the point guard position, we have Kyrie Irving at $10,700. The Nets did some hard work at the end of the season to get into the 7th seed. They won their last 3 or so games, their last like 4 or 5 games. I don't know, but they 4 games. They won their last 4 games, starting with Houston. And Kyrie was playing great. He was playing huge minutes. Some of these times they didn't come out in the second half, him and Durant. Last game against Indy, Indiana plays absolutely no defense. They let Kyrie shoot 75% from the floor, put up 53 fantasy points. Price tag is very expensive, though. He's almost touching $11,000. So you can save $1,100 and go down to Darius Garland, who's also going to play just big minutes today. Wouldn't be surprised if he plays over 40. We've seen him do that recently against Brooklyn, 12 of 24, 11 of 24. He's just such a good shooter. Gets you playmaking with the assist, gets you some rebounds, some steals. Just a fun player to watch and a fun player to roster this year. He's taken a big step up since they lost Sexton at the beginning of the year and without Rubio. Other options are definitely D'Angelo Russell at this price tag. And we saw some games where Russell wasn't playing huge minutes, but they want their best players to play in this type of game, in the play-in situation. So expecting Russell to play heavy minutes in the 30s, high 30s, 35 to 37, what I'm looking at. And he ended the season playing pretty well and shooting the ball pretty well, getting you some assists, 20 assists combined in the last 2 games. So hopefully he can kind of build off of that. And the matchup isn't terrible going up against the Clippers. The first game might be a little bit higher scoring, just with how fast Brooklyn likes to play, and just they don't really play much defense. But Cleveland doesn't play at a fast pace, so could see Minnesota with one of the fastest paces in the league. They try to dictate the Clippers to play faster, but I think both games will be similar, at a similar pace, similar scoring. I'm looking to get to both games, not just focus on one. Other options for point guard plays, you can scroll down to Reggie Jackson at $6,900. 3K range, maybe take a shot on like Rondo off the bench or Dragic off the bench. Over at shooting guard, Paul George looks good at $99. I might like Garland just a little bit less, but Paul George also gives you that big upside. Saw him play 34 minutes, the most minutes he's played. In the play-in game, he should probably play like over 35 minutes, and this contributes in all aspects, points, rebounds, assists. No real problem with him. He might have like a lower floor than like a Garland or a like Durant, but still looks like a very good option if you wanted to prioritize Paul George. I don't mind Edwards, but I'd rather get to Russell for $1,300 less. Another guy is Norman Powell at $5,400. He comes off the bench, but he should play good minutes in the 30s if he's playing well. And they probably like to play him some minutes over like Nick Batum if he's not shooting the ball particularly well or not doing great. And Powell was a guy that's very good point per minute wise on the season. Just such a good shooter in general. 40+% from 3, 80+% from the free throw line. He's a guy that I would expect to be in the closing lineup. So I'm going to go ahead and put him in just as a nice mid-range play. Other plays you could look to are definitely Seth Curry. He's a guy that we can go with at probably small forward. It's because shooting guard we have Powell and we have Russell here, but 44 for Seth Curry. A good price tag on him. He's missed some games recently with some ankle issues, but he said he's good to go. He should be starting. He takes some good shots, spaces the floor well. Have another three-point shooter out there. Wouldn't be surprised if he plays over 30 minutes like he has been typically. And he's been hitting value over 20, 4 straight games that he's played. He does give you a big upside if he's really catching fire from distance. And overall, he's just been such a good shooter all year. 42% from 3. Just continues to do his thing. And the price tag, just because he's missed some games, has come down from mid 5K range all the way down to just 44. So it looks like he is one of the better value picks at small forward. The fact that he's cheaper than like Kennard and Coffey and Mann, the guys that come off the bench. You're getting a starter with Seth Curry there. Only other options for me at small forward would be Bruce Brown, just because he's a bit of a do-it-all type of guy and can put up good fantasy game if he continues to produce in all categories. Markkanen looks okay at 59, and then Durant obviously, but 12K is not a cheap price tag. Power forward, You can go up to Durant if you're looking to pay up for him, but I like Evan Mobley a lot at 73. Might play him at center because center is not particularly deep. If we need another value here, we can maybe go with like Jared Vanderbilt, a guy that starts for the Timberwolves. The minutes on him, they only played 14, but he didn't play the second half, so probably would have played about 28. Any sort of close game, he's typically playing like in the 20s, closer to 30, depending on how he's playing. He's averaging 25 minutes on the season. He's a good point per minute producer, a guy that will get you rebounds, outside shot of a double-double, but 39 is really cheap of a price tag. He might not play huge minutes here in the play-in, but anything over 25 I'll be happy with. Even anything over 20 you can easily hit value. We're looking for value, and Vanderbilt can definitely supply us some. And then over at center, you have Cat. He's over 10K, but I love Mobley. Mobley, Garland, they just run the show right now for the Cavs. No Allen, again, still dealing with his finger issue. Mobley came right back and put up 38 and 41 fantasy points after missing about a week. Does everything, points, except for assisting, really, but points, rebounds, gets you blocks, gets you some steals. All-around good producer going up against Andre Drummond in this front court. Should have success in terms of just being able to put up shots at the basket, maybe block some shots as well. And still leaves you with $6,200 for the remaining two spots. Other plays at center would be maybe like Drummond, Hartenstein, Zubac. You can kind of pick between them. Zubac's just $100 more as a starter, looks better, but Hartenstein for more of a tournament option. And that's basically it. Maybe Claxton off the bench or Reed off the bench, but I love Mobley, is my favorite. And that's about it for DraftKings. Let's go over to FanDuel. All right, over on FanDuel, point guard plays. Irving is $500 less than he is on DraftKings, but Garland is also way less. He's only $8,900. Garland would be my favorite play at the point guard position. Other guys would be D'Angelo Russell at only 72, Reggie Jackson at 57. Curry looks a little bit better on DraftKings. I might go with like Dragic for $1,200 less now that we know he's playing. And that's kind of it at the point guard position. Over at shooting guard, picking between George and Irving at the top end. I think Irving will probably be a little bit more popular. You can go to Paul George, a guy that, especially on FanDuel, can maybe get you some steals, especially against a fast-paced team like Minnesota. Like Russell's price at only 72. I'm not looking at Bruce Brown on FanDuel at 68. That's really expensive. Then we have Karis LeVert at only 54. He's just such a good value. Play him at either shooting guard or small forward. He's one of my favorites. Powell looks better on DraftKings, not unplayable on FanDuel, but 62. A bit of a different story. And then all the way at the bottom, you have like Patty Mills and Coffee and guys like that. I might only play some minutes and are very shooting dependent, especially Patty Mills. Go ahead and put in Russell at a very nice price tag. Over at small forward, go ahead and put in Karis LeVert. I think Durant's easier to get to on FanDuel at only 11.4. We do have some other players that are different price tags like Garland and Russell, so it's a little bit easier to maybe prioritize Durant. So I like him more than, especially more than Edwards, 91. I'd rather go to George and Durant than pay 91 for Edwards. And then I'm looking at the mid-range with Karis LeVert. Maybe Marcus Morris at 51. And that's kind of it. I guess you could take a shot on like Okoro or Batum if you play a bunch of teams, but they're not particularly great plays. I guess one guy would be Torian Prince at 36, a guy that has been playing minutes in the low 20s some of these games, and he is putting up decent fantasy scores. Power forward, plug in Kevin Durant here. He's 11.4. I'm looking at Mobley to plug in at my center spot, but you can easily get to Durant if you wanted to go with some value at these other spots, like maybe Dragic, maybe throw in some of these guys below $4,000 here. Also, like Vanderbilt at 45, just as another value to get into your lineup. Maybe you can go with Hartenstein, 56. Now that he's power forward eligible, he has been putting up good fantasy games recently. And then Prince also 36, a guy that can play over 20 minutes. And then last but not least at center, Cat at 97 is fine, but give me Mobley. I like Mobley more than Drummond. 6K range, you have Zubats there. Split some time with Hartenstein. And the only other guy would be like Kevin Love at 55 that I would even consider playing at my center spot. But don't mind going with Mobley here. Going with these five leaves you with just under 5,000 left for the last few spots, and do have a lot of potential options to go ahead and put it in. But I really like Garland and Mobley to start your lineups with on both sides. Russell's price tag just looks really nice on both sides. You're getting a 40-45 fantasy point player at 7K on both sides, and then LeVert on FanDuel at only 54. and then Durant as my pay up on FanDuel. So that's about it. If there's any updates, I'll post them on Twitter. Best of luck tonight, and I will see you all next time.